Hi, I'm Jeff Strong. I'm creator of the Auditory Brain Stimulation Therapy Rhythmic Entrainment Intervention. I'm also creator of the Healing Arts Entrepreneur Training Program. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about diversifying your revenue. As a healer, you probably have a core therapy that you offer, and that probably makes up the majority of what you're doing with your time and what's constituting your income. And that's a decent thing to do for the most part when you're starting out. But as you're starting to build your practice, you want to be thinking in terms of how to also diversify your revenue. How to be doing other things that give you a break from the core therapy that you do, to give you some variety, to keep you engaged, and also to even out your revenue. Because there's going to be times when you're going to be starved for clients, and you're going to see the cycles where you're not making as much. If you have another source of income, it can make up the difference. And really, if you're going to be at this a long time, you're going to need to have multiple sources of income in order to keep from getting burnt out by doing the same thing day after day. If you build that variety into your practice, you keep yourself engaged for the longer haul, and you also give yourself more opportunity to make a better living from it. So I'm going to share 10 different streams of income that you can develop as a healing arts professional. Some of them are really in line with what you're already doing. Some of them stretch outside of that a bit. And one of them is completely outside of it in every way. But it can be a good thing for you, depending on how you view your practice in your life. So the first thing you can do, now you have your core therapy, obviously. And this is where you're probably working one-on-one with somebody. And you can just expand this really simply into groups. So all of a sudden now you've got your core people that you're seeing, and then maybe you see them in a group setting where you're doing specific practices that may be directly related to the work you do or may just be complementary to the work you do. But you're basically drawing from your existing client base to bring in this group. That's a really common thing for most therapists of really any different sort. Even acupuncturists and even massage therapists, they will run groups sometimes in order to just expand on what they can offer their clients. And this is one thing you want to be doing when you're looking at diversifying your revenue anyway, is this idea of what's called the Pareto principle. Now, the Pareto principle applies across business in a lot of different areas, and the concept is simple. It's that 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your clients. This is really pretty universal. With my business, with my practice, it is pretty close to 80-20. It is pretty close to 80% of my income coming from a core of 20% of the clients who are going to take different programs, are going to take different courses, they're going to engage with me in a variety of different ways. And the only way that can happen is if you offer more than just your core therapy, if you offer things that they can engage in. So think in terms of how can you offer more to your clients. Groups are a good thing, workshops are another thing. Workshops are great because it gives you that kind of rush that you get from the live one-on-one, but expands it to a larger group where you're able to engage with a huge, hopefully huge audience. But it also lets you kind of develop another aspect of what you're doing with your work, because a workshop is generally experiential, and so it's kind of a two-way street. You're sharing as well as getting people engaged. One cool thing about a workshop is not only can you draw from your core clientele, you can reach beyond that, but more importantly, you can use that as the basis for developing an online course. And really, this is kind of the big thing right nowadays, is as a healing arts professional to be able to expand your expertise in online teaching, because that gives you the benefit of being able to share your knowledge, but also share your knowledge in a way that you don't have to be present every time you do it. You know, workshops are fun, but you have to be there, and you have to work through a lot of effort to make that workshop happen. You have to get a physical space, you have to market it, and you have to show up and do it. And that's pretty taxing, and honestly, you can't have so many people into that workshop that it really is hugely profitable. Whereas an online course, there's really no limit to how many people you can have in that course. You create it once, you put it out there. If you promote it and market it well, you can be getting thousands and thousands of people taking your course. And that really opens the floodgates of what you can do as far as income goes. So if you were going to do nothing else in the long term, thinking about your business, think in terms of if there's an online course you can offer. Now, having said that, that's not for everybody, and the market is getting fairly saturated. There are a lot of people out there teaching. And that doesn't mean you can't develop your niche, because there's always room for somebody else. There's always room for your voice. So don't let the competition scare you away. But just think also in terms of, if it's not something that really truly fits with your goals and what you want to do, you might be better off putting your energy somewhere else. And that might be teaching somewhere. When I started out, I did the drum circles, which I didn't really enjoy doing. I did the one-on-one, which was my passion. That's what I loved doing. But I could only do so many of those in a day because I was driving to people's houses. I was playing in people's living rooms. So I also taught, and I started teaching at holistic health stores. And I would teach traditional core shamanism as a means to meditation, for instance. So I took the shamanic technique and kind of positioned it for people who couldn't meditate, and helped them kind of get into that meditative state by giving allowing the brain to be driven by the drum, basically. And so I did that. I did some drum circles in stores, which again, I didn't really love. It wasn't my niche, but I did it for a while. And then taught other classes related to the drumming as I was doing it. And that was a really important source of revenue for me. But it also, beyond that, gave me the ability to turn some of those students into clients. And that was a really good thing. Now, eventually I started teaching at some schools. I taught at the School of Healing Arts in San Diego. I taught at the community college here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And those instances, it was a little touchy whether or not I could convert those people into actual one-on-one clients. But you have to check with where you're teaching to see if that's okay. I taught through the Learning Annex in Southern California for a while. That was another good one. Think in terms of how you can share your knowledge and take a core of what you do and turn it into some sort of an education, whether you're teaching at some place, whether you're doing a workshop, and then whether or not you're doing an online course. Those are really important aspects of being able to kind of diversify your revenue. It also keeps you engaged. It also keeps you looking deeper at your work and expanding your knowledge base, because really the one thing that's really important to do as a healing arts professional is to make sure you're always growing and learning. And this is true for any entrepreneur, really. If you're in business, you need to be constantly growing and learning new things, because you're always going to be having to change kind of the presentation of what you're doing. It's inherent in the way it works. Here with what I do, I'm a researcher, really, at the core. A musician and a researcher. And so I'm always doing data collection. I'm always looking at what we can do to improve what we're doing. How can we make a better program? How can we get better results? How can we be thinking outside the box to create other ways of doing this work that can be more accessible? Brainshift Radio, for instance, came out of our custom program and looking at our generalized CDs and saying, these generalized CDs are okay, but they're limited in what they can do because they're really static. The custom program's great, but it's so expensive. It's a way to kind of blend these two into something really diverse and interactive. And we developed Brainshift Radio, which has tens of thousands of hours of music on it that really is personalized to each person who's listening. And that was just brainstorming, taking what we did originally and kind of bringing it into something else. So as you're looking at ways to diversify, think about how you can take that core knowledge base that you have and bring it into either teaching, books. Those are really good. A book is a great thing because it establishes expertise in the marketplace. It helps you refine your message. And what's even cooler is it becomes a marketing tool. We give away my Different Drummer book, my memoir, more than we sell it. That's a really important giveaway for us as a freebie. Because we realize that gets people engaged and involved. And we've got some great providers and some really great repeat clients out of just giving that book away. And I'm not necessarily just talking about giving a digital copy of it away. That's easy to do. I think you should do it. If you write a book, give it away as a digital download in exchange for somebody's email. Offer it as a freebie. And it doesn't have to be a 300-page book like mine is. It could be a 35-page report or something. But think in terms of how you can leverage your knowledge into a book. If you want to put it into a physical book, it's really cool then to send that out to people as a promo, because now they've got something physical in their hands. And now you've got them engaged. Even if they don't read it, they'll see the book sitting there once in a while and they'll be thinking of you. And so think in terms of a book. In my Healing Arts Entrepreneur program, I show you how to write a book. I've written 8 books. I've got 2 more coming out. And I've covered, I've written books across the spectrum. I have one on ADHD, I have one on drumming, I have one on home recording, audio record. Actually, I have 3 on auto recording. And then I've got my memoir. And basically, you can take your expertise in any form and put it out in a lot of different ways. And I can show you how to do that pretty quickly. Most of my books were written in 12 weeks, start to finish. My Different Drummer book was essentially written in 30 days. So I can show you how to do that as well. It's not that difficult. I'm not a writer. I consider myself an author more than a writer because I don't really enjoy the process of writing. So writing a book is really important though. So if you have an expertise, think about putting that into book form. Now, if you're not a book person and you're more of an auditory person, you're a little bit more creative, in other realms, maybe consider audio. You could create audio downloads. One of the most common things that the people going through my program do is meditations. They'll do guided meditations. They'll either support it with music or something else, and use that as a tool to help facilitate the work they're doing in general. So if you're doing a session with somebody, it's nice to have a meditation to help them. Or if you're helping people with their lifestyle, giving them meditations that they can use that are kind of guided towards a specific end result can be a really good thing. Doing audio programs is fairly easy. Again, in my program, I show how to do that process. It's fairly simple. You don't need a ton of expensive equipment. You just need to be willing to engage in the process of learning a couple simple skills and minimal gear. Another thing you can do is courses. Like I said, you can do online courses, really important. Start off as a workshop rather than an online course. That way you get a chance to kind of test your ideas, test your theories, get some feedback from people to see what's happening. And again, in my training program, I show you how to build courses because that is going to be the core of what a lot of you are going to do in order to diversify the revenue towards things that you can make money on while you're not really present. So definitely courses. You can be doing products. That's another big one for a lot of healing arts professionals. And they're not products that you make. They're other people's products that are supporting the work you're doing. So you could be an acupuncturist and you could be selling Chinese herbs that you're basically recommending to people for different purposes, or nutritional supplements you could be doing if you're a massage therapist, or essential oils. Anything that kind of would be something that your clientele would find useful in context for what your expertise is. And there's a lot of ways to do that. You can become a reseller of a particular brand of product, or you can simply become an affiliate to Amazon or something like that. And there's a lot of ways to do this, but think about how you can offer products to your clientele to give them some added benefit that relates somehow to your therapy work. And speaking of affiliates, you can think in terms of larger affiliations with organizations, with people teaching courses. Say you don't want to teach a course, but you have somebody that you know is teaching a course that you really believe in. You can either create a JV partnership with that person or an affiliate relationship with that person and receive a commission basically on recommending this program to your clients. So that's another great form of revenue. I know some people who don't actually have a course or a product of their own. They're really good marketers. And what they do is they market other people's programs under an affiliate or a JV partnership relationship. And they make all their money basically promoting other people's products. They build lists around a certain interest, and they sell a product that somebody else has built that fits the need within that particular interest. And so that's certainly a way to do it. Don't be limited to just thinking in terms of what you offer as a therapist. Think in terms of what might be beneficial to the people that you've got coming to you. And then another thing along all these lines, if you're doing any of these things, the one thing you need to do, and I talk about this in another video, is you need to build your online platform, and you need to have an email list that you're developing. You have to have an email list with an opt-in on everything that you put out there for your platform to get people on your list so that you can engage with them, because in today's world, marketing is all about getting connected with your potential clients, having them get to know you, get to trust you, get to come to you for information and advice. And the better relationship you build with those people, the more ability then you have to be able to offer them courses and products and books and any other thing that would be relevant to kind of the topics that you talk about. Now, if all those things aren't things that you want to do to diversify your revenue as a healing arts professional, there are a small subset of you that will want to have a day job. You'll want to have a job that is completely separate and apart from your therapy work. And it used to be considered kind of a no-no to go in and get your certificate and being able to offer this therapy that you offer, and then to go make your living somewhere else. But this is kind of a trend that happened within the music business in the last 20 years when things were kind of shifting away from CD and album sales to online, and what happened at the very beginnings of that world with pirating. A lot of musicians were not able to really make a living like the independent musicians like they used to. And a lot of them, the people I knew anyway, decided at that point, you know what, it kind of sucks the life out of me to be promoting this work in the way I'm promoting it. It feels like it's selling out. I'm going to make my living somewhere else. I'm going to make my music my hobby. And if I make extra money doing my hobby, that's great. And it gives you a balance that can be good for you. It really depends on the person. A lot of people don't want to have to be in two completely different worlds. Other people like it. But don't discount it because you're too proud to do it. Day jobs are okay. They can be okay for a lot of people, especially if it's a career that you love as well. Many of us don't just love one thing. We love lots of different things. And there's no reason that our lives and our careers can't take multiple tracks at the same time. There's no reason in the world that you couldn't be working part-time as a healing arts professional and part-time as something else. And so think about that a little bit if you need the balance. But you can very easily, with 9 of these things that I just mentioned, be able to make your complete living doing work that's related to your healing arts work. It may not be the one-on-one sessions, but I guarantee you after time, after 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you're probably not going to be wanting to spend all your days doing just that core therapy work. You're going to want to have some diversity in what you're doing so that you have the variety that gives you the reason to get up in the morning. So think about running groups. Think about doing workshops. Think about teaching somewhere. Think about coaching maybe. I didn't mention that earlier. Coaching is a really big one. There are a lot of people who are in the healing arts that are lifestyle coaches, or maybe they're specific coaches to something really more in line with the core therapy they're doing. Maybe they're a nutritional coach or something along those, a health coach or something. Think about that. You've got books you can write, you've got audios you can do, you've got courses you can make. These 3 are really important because they can create what's called evergreen income. And that's income that just keeps happening in the background. That you put the product together, you put it out there, you promote it, and you're making money constantly based upon that one time that you built that. The core of my work is based upon that idea of that evergreen. My custom program is now software based. I don't go to people's houses anymore and haven't been for many years. Everything is online, interactive. It's all custom made, but it's run by the software and the staff to be able to oversee all that. I got Brain Shift Radio, which is again software driven for my music that doesn't require me to show up. I've got my audio CDs, I've got my books, I've got my online courses. All those things add up to my larger bucket of revenue. And I don't really go and play live one-on-one for people anymore. I'll do it occasionally because I want to, but it's not part of my daily work. My work has evolved, and it had to, because in order to reach the number of people the way I wanted to reach them, I couldn't show up in people's living rooms. It was just too labor intensive. So allow yourself to grow. Think in terms of what you can be offering that can take you out of the rat race of getting paid for your time. That's really the goal here. And then diversify your revenue so that you can buffer those slow periods that you're going to have with your clients. And most of us don't have a lot of clients between, say, Thanksgiving and New Year's. That time of year, people are busy doing other stuff. So what do? you have to have other sources of revenue that you can rely on. So I hope this was helpful. There's a download below kind of with a mind map showing the different forms of revenue and kind of what they all mean in practice. Take a look at those. I'm going to play for a couple minutes. Maybe as I'm playing, just kind of settle in, just check inside yourself and just look at what area might be a good area for you to pursue with regards to diversifying your income. Do you have a course that you want to do? Have you been thinking about a book? What would that look like? Maybe an audio, maybe meditations. Maybe you want to do some coaching or teaching. Maybe you had a workshop in mind that you'd like to work with. Or maybe a different variation on a group that you already have going. Any products that other people are offering that you might want to offer yourself. And then think about affiliate relationships with other professionals you know. Maybe there's something there for you. I'm going to play for a few minutes. Definitely jot down what you come up with, and I'll see you in the next video.